here we go again. I don't see, my lives are so bootleg. Like, my lives always cut off. So here we are again, part 2. I do not know why my lives always I mean, I'm like in mid sentence and it's just a cutoff. So I don't know why Instagram, is hating on, us trying to get our stuff together, okay, for these funds. But I don't even know what I was saying. It's just, this got discombobulated. So if you had a question, put it back in the comments for me. I don't even know what I was saying. What was I saying? I don't even know what I was saying. Does someone know what I was saying? Can you tell me if I have a hope for a grant? Okay, royalty plans for life. Like, you have a great business and you have a great business idea and you need money. So if we need to make that sound good. So go to my website, book a 30-minute grant call. Tell me what your business is, and I'm going to tell you how to package it up and sound grant worthy. Okay. Yes, there is hope for a grant. Businesses are trying to give people money to start and grow or expand their business so they can say whatever, so they can say, hey, I helped this person do blah, blah, blah. You were saying that tier 1 was important for the credit profile. Okay. So yeah. So that establishing business credit is going through all the steps. So tier 1 is important because these are going to be the vendors that are going to give you a line of credit without having any kind of revenue, nothing being reported. Okay. So it's kind of like you're going to buy overpriced office supplies, overpriced janitorial supplies, but they're going to report this to your business credit report. What I tell people to do is try to make your current life things business credit related. For example, instead of going to Sam's Club and buying toilet paper and paper towels, coffee, instead of going to Walmart to get office supplies or get your kids' school supplies, get it from a business credit vendor. So you're going to pay a little bit more, but they're going to report the payments to your business credit report. That's going to open up us to get to tier 2. So tier 1 is the hardest. People always say, I got a Uline account, I got a Quill account. You got to have a certain amount of accounts reporting in tier 1. Okay. You got to have like 5 to 8 accounts reporting. And we do not want to pay our bill on time. Paying your bill on time is like the bare minimum. We need to pay our bills 5 to 10 days early. So business credit is really based solely on, I'm not going to say solely. Business credit is majority based on payment history, meaning how you make your payments, where personal credit is going to be how old is your credit? Do you have a good mix? Like, do you have credit cards? Do you have a car note? Do you have a mortgage? It's going to be utilization. Like, hey, we're going to give you credit, but don't use too much. So you got to have old trade lines. You got to have a good mix of credit. You can't use the credit. So it's like a whole bunch of stuff you got to have on the personal credit side. Business credit is just how are you making these payments? So by paying your bill 5 to 10 days early, that's going to help you get a higher score. Okay, so yes, but try to make tier 1 like things you would already buy for yourself anyway. Okay, so let's see. What questions do we have? What's my website? My website is the firm. I'll put it in the comments, but my website is thefirmcbgroup.com. I have a little. Is this the chat? I have a CDL training business. Okay. What is the minimum we should spend in tier 1 in an order? The minimum is going to be whatever the vendor requires to report. So just because they will tell you on the website you got to make an order of $50 or $100 for them to even report to the business credit bureaus. So whatever that vendor requirement is, that's what you need to. That's how you need to make your purchases. Can I buy a rental property with any LLC? Yes, you can buy a rental property with any LLC, but just like on the personal side, when you walk into the bank, is the LLC credit worthy? So they're going to ask, for 3 to 6 month bank statements to see what kind of revenue is coming in. And they're going to look to see what kind of credit profile that you have. So if the LLC has that, then yes, it can buy rental property. Registered or different? If the same, who do you recommend? So the registered agent is basically going to be someone who is going to receive mail on behalf of the LLC. So if the state is trying to contact you, they're going to send mail to this address. If someone's trying to sue you, they're going to send mail to this address. So you can serve as your own registered agent. You don't have to have hire a company. People normally hire a company if they don't have an address in that state. So if I'm forming a Delaware company, but I live in Florida, I would hire a registered agent because I'm not in Delaware. And so I can't go to Delaware to get my mail. So that's why I would hire a registered agent company to be my agent. But if you're in the same state as your LLC, you can be your own agent, and then you would just use your business address for the LLC address and for the registered agent's address. Pay them off in full every month, or can you make payments? Okay, so a line of credit is let me rephrase. A net 30 means you have 30 days to make the payment. When you get to revolving credit, meaning I have like a credit card, I have a $5,000 limit, and they're going to tell me what that minimum payment is. That's more in tier 3. So in tier 1, they're not going to give you revolving credit. They're going to give you a net 30 account, meaning you have 30 days to pay this bill. Not pay part on it, not put something up on it. You got to pay that full bill in 30 days. That's what that net 30 means. Do you suggest to do monthly or quarterly plan with NAV Boost? It depends on what you're doing with the business. If you're just in the process of establishing business credit, like we're not about to walk into the bank in the next 60 days, then you can just do it quarterly. But if you go to nav.com, nav.com, nav.com is like Credit Karma for business credit. So you need to have their paid plan. It's like $39 a month, and then you will be able to check all 3 business credit bureaus to see what your score is and to see what is reporting on your business. So if your paydex score is not an 80, you don't even need to go to tier 2 or tier 3 because you're not going to get approved. Plus, nav.com will serve as a trade line. So that $39 that you spend every month to have that service, they will report that to all 3 business credit bureaus. So that can be your first trade line with just forming your LLC and getting your Dun & Bradstreet number. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Is there anything wrong with changing your LLC name multiple times within 2 years? No, there's nothing wrong unless you are changing it. Unless the industry was a high risk industry, that's going to draw a flag. But no, there's nothing wrong with changing the name multiple times. But the question, I guess, will be, why are we changing the name all these times? Like, are we just changing businesses? But you can change your LLC name. If your LLC has is in a high risk industry, changing your name is not going to do anything, because when you change your name, you have to bring in the original documents and all the amendments. So it's not just, hey, I'm walking in with the new name. You got to bring everything. So they're going to see the high risk industry name anyway. So change the name doesn't help that. We got to form a whole new like LLC, a whole new parent company, and play a different game. How do you legally, that's what we're talking about. Okay. So when you are funding your business, you have to document everything that you're putting into your business if you're loaning it. If not, whatever you're putting into your business could be deemed income and you would have to pay a tax on it. Okay. So if we are, paying expenses, paying bills, blah, 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 then you are loaning the LLC money. Okay. So you need to have an LLC loan agreement. If you go onto my website, I have an LLC kit. In that kit will be 2 documents. One of the documents is going to be the LLC loan agreement. So you'll say, what's today? August 26th. On August 26th, I gave my LLC $10,000. There's also going to have a section to where when the LLC is starting to make money, it will then be paying you back. Now, like a bank, you can decide, am I loaning my LLC money with no interest, or am I going to add some interest on it? But it's going to be an LLC loan agreement. That's how you keep track of how much money that you put into your business for getting it started. Okay. We need this document because we need to give this to our CPA, our accountant, our tax professional. They're going to know what to do with it. We also need this document so if the IRS decides to audit you, the real alphabet boys, okay, they're going to expect you to have all your paperwork together. So what they're going to do, they're going to just look at they're going to go in the bank statements and see what money was deposited. And we have to show how that money is an income. So if you already have your LLC loan agreement, your dates are already consistent, everything looks legit, then we can pass that sniff test. What you don't want to do is get after you're getting audited, trying to backdate stuff and remember stuff, because that's where stuff kind of gets messed up, and they're going to read through that. So if you already have a documentation as to I use this, and this, when they come in to do just a random audit, then you'll be good to go. Can you use the same address for 2 different businesses? Yes, you can. So if I did quarterly, it should still report as a trade line with NAV. NAV.com, you need to have that monthly $39 plan for them to report. For that to be a trade line to report. Can we use the same yes, you can use the same address for 2 businesses. Do the loan get right off your business? Does the loan get right off your business? Do you get... I don't know what that means. If you're saying, can I deduct the loan payment once the LLC is paying you back, then yes, that is an expense. That will be a loan repayment. So like if you went and financed a car at CarMax and you're paying that car note every month, like that's an expense. Once the LLC starts paying you back, then yes, that will be an expense of the LLC, and yes, that will be income to you. Okay, so it's not just an expense and then we don't report it on our tax return. So if it's an expense of the LLC, it's going to be reported as income to you. And that's why it's so important to have that loan agreement so you can keep track as to how much you are getting. Are there any grants for minority veterans starting a new farm? There are going to be grants for veterans. I have a whole veterans section for grants. I also have an agriculture section, but I don't know how big of a farm you're talking about. So you would first fall under small business grants. So just in general, small business, yes. Then you will fall under veterans. There's a whole veterans section. Depending on how big your farm is, there's an agriculture section, but that's talking about like a large farm, not just like a regular farm. What if you're in the early stages and you paid expenses from your personal account? Are you able to write those costs off? Okay, you need to get with your accountant. You can write off the expense in the year that the expense occurred. So if you had the expense in 2019, you write that expense off on your 2019 tax. Well, tax year's behind. So you would write that off in your 2020 tax return. We cannot write off an expense in 2022 that we incurred in 2019. Okay, so you gotta, that's why it's important to get with a CPA, an accountant, someone who understands, you know, the whole tax world, because you can only write that expense off in the year that it incurred. What is the best place to trademark? Where is the best place to trademark your business? T-Bus, what do you mean the best place? A trademark is federal, so it's not, we don't do state trademark. That's a waste of money. You need to do a federal trademark so it protects you against the US of A, and that will be with the USPTO.gov, the US Patent and Trademark Office. That's where you would file your trademark. What is a good company to use in New York for a virtual address? I think Regis is in New York. But just Google virtual address in New York, but you need to make sure it's not a mailbox place. How can you make a successful, credible app grant? Hot Dime, book a grant call with me and we can break it down. Do you work with small minority women-led businesses in New York State? Yes, I do. Book a discovery call. Let me see what you got going on. I applied for a DMV number and it was approved. However, with my virtual address name, not my LLC. You need to fix that in your Dun & Bradstreet profile. So you need to go to dmb.com into your profile and fix whatever is incorrect. I am just having issues navigating the grant. Okay, Hot Dime, book a discovery call with me so I can help you. I haven't made any money with my new LLC since I got it. Okay, so we need to, just because you have an LLC does not mean you're about to make money. You know, you make money by having either a great product or great service and getting that product and service out there to the masses. We need sales. So I would book an hour consultation so I can get you a game plan as to how we're going to get some cash flow in 90 days and get you a marketing plan together. What are the different options for a grant for a cleaning business? I don't know what you mean as far as options. A grant is going to be offering you X amount of money and you have to show why you need the money. Okay, so for grants, we are basically giving a great statement of need. Why do you need the money and what are you going to use the money for? For example, I just did a grant call the other day and it's going to be for a festival. Some young guys in their 20s are coming together and they're doing a music festival and they need money for, you know, bringing the artist. Okay. So the business hasn't done anything yet, but how we make that grant worthy is, one, we have young, you know, entrepreneurs. The artists that they're going to be using are going to all be young and they're all going to be like that culture, for the culture kind of artist. People use music to help soothe and deal with trauma and problems. So we're trying to make it like a positive music festival vibe where, you know, young millennials can come together and kind of just, you know, deal with the traumas of being, you know, a minority in this world with all the police brutality and this and that and COVID, and have a good time. Okay. It's not going to be like a ratchet festival. So what I was able to do is help him tie in who he is, what his past is, what he's done, with the great cause of, you know, having a positive music festival. Young kids can come together, blah, blah, blah. It's all about mixing everything together for the why do you need it. I had another lady had a preschool. She wanted to revamp her playground. Okay, great. You know, preschool kids, you know, having old equipment hurts kids, blah, blah, blah. There's ways that you can make what you're doing sound great. In the grant bundle, I have a grant workbook that's going to give you adjectives. It's going to ask you questions to kind of make you think how I'm trying to tell you to think to make your statement of needs sound very convincing. Okay, so the grant workbook will break it down, but you need to be able to state what you need the money for. And then now we got to have a detailed budget as to how we're going to spend the money. So I need $1,200 for this. I need $1,300 for this. And we got to just max out whatever is the grant amount that we're asking for. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, let me see what's in here. What's here? What's in this? Should I cancel my NAV account after I get my Paydex score of 80? No, you should not cancel your NAV account because that's how you're going to be able to see what your score is. Because like business credit is a process. So just because you get a Paydex score of 80 doesn't mean that you're done. Because we got to get through tier 2, we got to get through tier 3, we got to get through our line of credit. So no, I wouldn't cancel my NAV account. The NCAIS code importance when forming an LLC. So you get your NAICS code when you get your EIN number. So when you form your LLC, some states do ask like what industry you're going to be in. That NAICS code is what's going to determine what industry you're in. What industry you're in determines whether or not you're going to be considered high risk or low risk. So if you are in a high risk industry, credit repair, tax preparation, trucking, car dealership, real estate, we don't want those names in our LLC name. And then when you go to get your EIN number and they're going to ask for like what industry we're in, we're not picking those industries, okay? Because that's how they're going to say that we're high risk. So we need to camouflage that. Should you be funding your startup before you become an LLC or before your business starts generating revenue? Can you write that stuff off after you become an LLC if you keep the receipts? Okay, you should form your LLC immediately before doing any kind of business so that it separates you from your business. You don't want to be responsible for your business debts, and you don't want your business debts to tie them with you. So the reason why you want to establish your LLC first is to separate you from your business. Okay, so if something happens over in the business, you can't come after me for it. That's why we're establishing it in the beginning. You don't got to have any revenue. You don't have to have a trademark. You don't even have to have a product. But when I form my business, I don't want it to be me. If you're doing business, then your house, your home, your cars, your money, all of that is being exposed. Okay, so although your business doesn't have anything, you probably do. So you're forming your LLC for the sole reason of leave my stuff out of it and just be over here with this LLC. You can write off whatever business expenses you have for your LLC. You can also write them off if you're a sole proprietor. It's just going to be a different form that your tax preparer will know what to do. Okay, let's see. What other questions do we have? If my budget for expensive equipment is very high, will that deter me from getting smaller grants? I'm in trucking and need new expensive equipment. Whatever is for the grant, you need to make your budget for the grant. So if you're trying to get a $50,000 piece of equipment and you're applying for a $5,000 grant, then you need to ask for $5,000. Because if you need $50,000 and you're applying for a $5,000 grant, they're going to feel like my $5,000's not going to do anything for you because you need $45,000 more. Okay, so if you're doing equipment financing, you can also look to see well, I'm not talking about truck finance. I'm talking about equipment. Like there are equipment financing avenues you can go through. But grant-wise, whatever the grant is for, that's how much we're asking for. Don't show how the grant is not going to be enough to help you. Great question. Okay, let's see. If you guys are just joining my second live, my lives are bootleg. So my first one cut off. So you can, I was in the last live, I kind of went over, I think maybe like 6 common mistakes that I see people are making in business. So those are kind of some little gems you may want to get tonight. And you guys, if you, I know for August in the grant bundle, there are maybe 7 grant applications for this month that the application is like online. And I want to say may have been 12 questions. Like we're not even having to, do anything major. So I don't want you guys to feel intimidated by a grant because you never wrote a grant. I don't know what it is. At some point in time, you never rode a bike. Okay. So don't psych yourself out thinking I don't know what to do. You know what business you have. You know what your vision is. You're going to be passionate because it's your baby and you know why you need the money and what you're going to do with the money. I'm going to give you some adjectives to kind of, spruce that up. I'm going to ask you some questions to make you start thinking as to, I need to answer this, this, and this, but it's your baby. Who else is going to advocate for their baby than, the mama and the daddy? So don't feel intimidated because you've never written a grant before. Like, you'll be good. Okay, let's see. Can you please save? Yes, I will. Yes, I will save. I will save this live so you can. I just posted the first one that cut off, and yes, I will save this live. Okay. Why can't I Google a contract? Okay. So a contract is going to be a legal agreement between 2 parties. There are certain things that need to be in the contract to protect the parties. There are certain things that need to be in the contract. Things like, how do I get out of the contract? So let's just say I get into a contract with you and we're just not a mix. Some people just aren't a mix in business. It's no shade. Like it's just like we are just not mixing. How can I exit the contract early? There are certain things that need to be in the contract. When you Google a contract, you're just getting like a random contract. Does it protect you in this scenario? That's why you need to have an attorney drafted contract. There's going to be some legal mumbo jumbo that's in there that's going to protect you. Things like, what if one person signs the contract in a pen and then the other person, signs the contract and faxes it to you? So you don't actually have their original signature. They faxed it to you. That's like a certain clause that will be in the contract saying that if they sign it and fax it to you, like that still constitutes an original. Certain clauses like if we don't agree, are we going right to court, or do you want to maybe save on some attorney fees, save on some court costs, and go to mediation or arbitration first? Okay. Certain clauses like if we go to court and I'm in Texas and you're in Florida, what court are we going to? Are we going to Texas or are we going to Florida? Okay, so if you're the person that has the contract, you want to make sure it's going to be called the governing law. Like you want to make sure that your state is where the lawsuit is going to be filed in, because you don't want to have to incur additional expenses traveling to Florida, to dispute because a person had held up on their end of the bargain of a contract. Okay, so there are certain clauses that need to be in a contract. My contract templates on my website give you the contract. I'm also going to give you an explanation contract where I break down every paragraph of the contract in layman terms so that you understand everything of what you're signing. So one of those, I think I spoke in the last slide that got cut off, like why you need to have a professional do your foundation things, like your LLC. professional. Okay? Your contracts, professional. Your numbers, your financials, your profit and loss statement, professional. Some things a professional just needs to do because they just need to do it so that your foundation is correct. You have a contract and it's not state specific. You have a contract and it doesn't list out how can we end the contract early. Just because you have a contract doesn't mean that, hey, I'm safe. Is the contract really in your best needs? Unless you're an attorney, then you're not going to know, oh, I should have this, and this. Just like if you're a baker and you want to bake a cake and you're baking a wedding cake, I don't cook. I can just say, well, okay, you're making a wedding cake. Why are you charging me $1,000? Why can't you just go get what is a Duncan and Hines cake mix and make me a wedding cake? You're gonna be like, Duncan and Hines, like who's doing a store bought cake for their wedding? Like a professional, right? So you want to make sure that you are protected. So no, do not Google a contract and try to piece it together because it may not be state specific. It may not even address all the needs that you have, your industry has. You need to, if you're going to sign a contract, that means that we're doing business. You're trying to tie someone down to committing to something. You want to make sure that an attorney either drafts it, or if someone's giving you a contract, you want to make sure that you're paying an attorney to look over the contract, to explain to you what it's saying, so we're not just signing something. Then 6 months from now, a year from now, something happens and we're like, oh my gosh, that wasn't protected. That wasn't this, that wasn't that. I remember I went and got an insurance policy and I just signed. I didn't ask anything. I didn't say, hey, can you explain it to me? And my insurance policy didn't cover theft. And this is when I was selling hair extensions. So when we got broken into, he's like, oh, well, you didn't tell me, that your hair extensions were going to be stolen. So I didn't even give that to you. But see, I didn't know what questions to ask. He was a sorry ass insurance agent. But what you need to do is say, hey, what are some common terms, or what are some common things in a policy for this industry? So you always want to make sure you have a professional doing your contracts and doing all of the foundational things for your business. I got my virtual address, but realized it's in a Staples store. Baby, yes. Should you change it? Yes, you definitely need to change that address. How many LLCs the average person should have when they just funding with a LLC? Nate, I don't know what you're saying. There is no limit to how many LLCs you need to have. Okay. The sky's the limit. Like you can have as many as you want. As far as getting funding for your LLC, you're going to have to make your LLC credible and verifiable. You're going to have to build out the business credit profile going through tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and we're going to have revenue in the bank. So you can go form 10 LLCs today, but before we can go get some funding for them, we have to, do the steps to build them out. Now, what you can do is form 10 LLCs, but we're going to start with LLC number 1. Make that verifiable, credible, all those steps. Then go through tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, get funding. Use that funding to then start LLC number 2 and start that business. Then build that business credit profile out. Tier 1, tier 3, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Go to the bank, get some funding, and then use that funding to help start business number 3. So that is the benefit of having multiple LLCs, okay? Or if you only have one LLC, but you want to maximize on your funding, then you need to consider registering your LLC as a foreign LLC in another state. So you already built the business credit profile out. We already have our tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. We already have our revenue going into our account. We get funding, but maybe there is a bank in DC. Maybe there's a bank in California that is really friendly to business for funding. register your LLC as a foreign LLC in California. That means that, hey, I can now do business in my state and California. That now gives you access to all of the banks in California. There's some banks in DC you want to have. Register your LLC as a foreign LLC in DC. So now I can have all the banks in Texas with that same LLC. I can go to DC and get funding with that same LLC. I can go to California and get funding with different banks. So that's another way of having one LLC, but maximizing on your funding opportunities by registering it as a foreign LLC. Now, when you are a foreign LLC, you are going to have to abide by those state rules. So having to do the LLC annual report for that state. So I'll be doing a report for Texas, California, and DC. So I can't just, run it like it's a Texas LLC. I gotta do the annual report. So depending on the state, California is an $800 fee every year, right? I don't know what DC's annual. I think DC maybe like $100. Don't quote me, but I gotta pay those annual fees. But like I say, you got to pay to play. Okay, so if you want to build out one profile but have access to multiple banks in different states, that's another way of maximizing your funding opportunity by registering it as a foreign LLC. Now, some states, the foreign LLC fee is not expensive. In other states, the state's like, I already know what you're coming here to do, so I'm about to tax you. So that would be like another cost incurred. But if you're able to get additional funds, it's worth the money. So that would be another way. I forgot what your name was. What's your name, sweetie? Who was I just talking to? Nate. That's another way that you'll be able to maximize funding on your LLC, the foreign LLC. If my business is now an LLC, should I get a new EIN and trash the sole prop? Okay, ice cold. Yes, we're going to 86 the sole prop. If you were a sole prop and you're now forming an LLC, but we're keeping our name the same, you still have to get a new EIN number for this reason. Number one, the name on the EIN number is going to have LLC at the end of it, where the name on your EIN for your sole prop doesn't have LLC underneath it. Okay. Number two, when you form a new business entity, the IRS requires you to get a new EIN. So you're going from a sole prop to an LLC. So you need to now have a new EIN number. So yes, you need to trash your old EIN number and start using the new EIN number that's in the LLC's name. Crazy question. How do you become a virtual address? I have a building with a few rooms in, and I could charge people to use my address. Pamper Me Pretty Day Spa. If you have a business location, you can Google what are the requirements, what are the permits you need to have to be able to rent out office space. I don't know if your state requires any different permits, but you could market yourself if you follow the rules, whatever your state requires, of being a virtual address. So I would Google, I don't know what state you're in, so I would Google that to see what you have to do before you can take someone's money, to be a virtual address. But great idea, girl. What is the difference between a sole proprietor and an LLC? So a sole proprietor is just you doing business. Hence the word sole is just you, proprietor, person doing business. So you're doing business. So when you're doing business as yourself, you are exposing your house, your car, your money, your jewelry, your assets to the world. So when you form an LLC, you form a separate entity. So the LLC, where are my cups? So if the green highlighter is you and you're a DBA or you're a sole prop, then this is you doing business. So you may get a DBA saying, hey, don't call me Joy, call me Sassy Lady. Okay, so Sassy Lady Boutique is doing business. But if someone falls in my Sassy Lady Boutique store, they can get my house, my car, the money in my bank. When I form my LLC, this is Joy and this is Sassy Lady Boutique. It's two different things. So if you fall and you break your neck in Sassy Lady Boutique, you can only get the assets that Sassy Lady Boutique has. So whatever money I have in the bank, whatever cars I own, equipment I own, whatever assets that this LLC owns, you can get, but you can't touch my house, my car, my money in the bank. Okay, so that is why, that's the difference between an LLC and a sole proprietor. What about partnership to LLC with the same EIN? A partnership is just two dummies doing business together as themselves. I mean, two people, my bad. A partnership is two people doing business together as themselves, exposing their house, their car, and their money in the bank to people. So if you're going to have two people being an LLC to be called a multi-member LLC, if you're the only owner in the LLC, it's going to be called a single member LLC. Okay. Does getting a new EIN mean starting over with building your business credit? Yes. But if you're getting a new EIN, that means that you have a new entity. But yes, your business credit is going to be linked to your EIN and your Dun & Bradstreet number. So that is what if you're changing your entity, then that's why if you're changing your name, the name is going to be different. You don't have to change your EIN if you change your name. So if you already have business credit established under your EIN and then you decide to change the name, then you're going to have to just show them all the documents from like when you first from your LLC to now as to how all this is going on. If you changing your business name and you don't have any kind of business credit established, then you can go ahead and just get a new EIN because that'll be simpler. I plan on expanding my business to have another food truck with a different name. Do I need a separate LLC? Yes, you do. Do I need a new EIN then if I drop my partner and became no. So if you were a multi-member LLC, but now you're a single member LLC, you're still the LLC. So that doesn't change. So you don't need a new EIN number. Nothing changes. Like you can change all the partners. That's just changing the ownership of the LLC, but the LLC is a separate entity. So no matter who, you can have one member, 5 members, whatever, all the ownership, who owns it changing doesn't change that structure. That structure is still good. So no, you do not need a new EIN number. Now, if your partner was what they call the responsible party for the EIN, so when you apply for an EIN number, you are going to have to put someone's name and social that the IRS will verify to make sure it's a real person. If your partner was the responsible party on the EIN and she now wants her information removed from the EIN, then you need to fill out a form on the IRS website. I think it's Form 8822. But you want to change the person who is responsible for that EIN. So then you would just add your name, your social, your address. Make sure that it's the same address as whatever is on your LLC Secretary of State. So it doesn't have to be your personal address. It just needs to be your whatever is your business address. And that way you can get the partner off your EIN if that's an issue. What is the first company you recommend for business credit? Nav.com, NAV.com. Can I absorb another LLC and their track record MBE certification? I'm just assuming ownership of the company. Okay, are you saying if someone already has the MBE certification, as long as you becoming an owner doesn't affect the certification? So like if I own the company and then I'm a woman, I got certified as a minority woman, then you take over, well, then we would lose that minority woman ownership, because a minority woman no longer owns it. So you want to make sure you coming on is not going to affect that. I will put my website when I post this, but my website is www.thefirmcbgroup.com. So the firm, C as in cat, B as in boy, group.com. Is it true you can add your child on your payroll after a certain age? Once they are 12, I think it's 12. Are they 12? I think it's either 12 or you can pay them $12,000 a year tax free. One of the two. In my last post, I just posted from this first live, I had 3 CPAs and accountants on there. Get with them. They can tell you about the about that. That is a tax credit that you are able to do. I think it's paying your child $12,000 a year tax free. I do not think there's an age requirement for there. Okay, let's see. Where is my watch from? Girl, this is Apple Watch with, a cute little white Amazon band. Ain't she cute? Ain't she cute? I was trying to, switch my little look up. What is the first company? Oh, I already answered this. Hold on. Website. Should your LLC be manager? Your LLC should be, if you are the ones that are going to be running the company, it needs to be member managed. If you pick manager managed, that means that you're having someone else running your company. So you need to put member managed. Okay, let's see. You can pay them up to 12. Thank you. You can pay them up to $12,000 a year. I knew it was a 12 in there. I knew there was a 12 in there. Okay, let me see what else I have in my little comment section. What is the best way to track your sales? You need to have some kind of point of sale system. So a Stripe, a PayPal, a Square. But you need to track both cash and credit card sales. So everyone who comes in and gets a service, buys a product, and pays you, you need to have an invoice. Because what you really want is your bank statements to align with your third-party reports. Just in case, for those who are making like a lot of income, some banks may question why you're making all this money. Right. So it's always great to have, your bank statements plus a third party merchant account verifying our sales. So if we're in a cash heavy business, so I do lashes, nails, hair, cut hair, do body massages, whatever, you want to make sure that if someone does pay you cash, we're still giving them an invoice so that our system tracks all that. Okay. It's 11:30. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, it is late and I have to go be seen tomorrow. So, I got to get my beauty rest. So I will also post this live, but all my good nuggets were in the first live if you're just joining on, and then I will catch you guys later. Have an awesome Friday. Bye.